What's up, everybody? It's me, Wyatt Wrestling. Welcome back to another episode of The Conversation. It's with me about wrestling content, interview questions. My special guest today, you might know him. Go check him out on Instagram and YouTube, JJ Toy Giants. Uh, I'm really excited to talk with him right now. Let's get him in here. Hello, how are you?
What's going on, my guy? Long time.
What's up, man? How are you?
I am good, bro.
All right, you ready for this, man?
I am ready, sir.
All right. Question number one. When did you start doing content, man?
It was right before the pandemic, around 2019. The reason why I started doing content really is because, and I'll try not to get emotional because every time I tell the story, I bring back all the memories. So, right around that time, my son and I, Jaden, who's also my co-host, we weren't really kind of vibing as father and son at that time. He had very different likes. I tried to do my best to try to like get him to like the stuff that I used to like when I was a kid. Because even though me and my dad had like a really like rocky relationship, but he was always like there to do certain dad and son things. Like we would watch cartoons together, we would go to the movies together. And I wanted to do that with Jaden, but he just wasn't vibing, and it really affected me because I thought I was like doing really bad as a dad. Like I couldn't converse with my son. I couldn't have that father son moment, and it really got to me. Like it was like for a while, and my wife was like, don't worry, he'll come around.
Yeah.
And then finally one day, we went to Target, and it's actually if you go look on the channel, that very first video, it was all vertical, like I had no clue how to do content. It was like a vertical video. We did a vlog of going to Target. We just went to Target right after work one day, and he got a Toy Story Barbie, because we had just watched Toy Story 4 at that time. Was it Toy Story 4 or Toy Story 3? I think it was Toy Story 3, yeah. So and then we're like, yeah, let's and I decided to film it, and I figured it'd be cool. And then we got home, and then I filmed him like unboxing it, and we were really like, he was getting into it. He was like, oh, let's go check out this. We were in Target, and and he was unboxing it at home, and he really started to get into it. And then it clicked. I said, that's it. I said, well, the next day we'll start a YouTube channel, just me and him. We'll unbox some toys. We'll go do some vlogs and toy hunts and and things and it just so happened that the next day there was a flea market in Schenectady, and we actually, if you go onto our channel and you're new, you'll see that video of we got to change it because he's so young in that video. We did our introduction to the channel, and there's also a vlog of us going through the flea market and buying different things. So that's when it basically like dawned on me, like, oh, I really like making content, so much so that as I got better at just teaching myself how to do it, to be better. And I was just doing it on my phone at the time. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have all the tech and stuff like that. And I really it was the first time, and I'm in my 40s, the first time I actually felt driven, like I had a vision of what I really wanted to do, which is making content. And then my wife, being the wife she is, she was like, well, why don't you like sign up to go to school? She was actually going to school at that time to get her degree to be a teacher, and she was like, why don't you go to school and learn how to actually do it, and so that you could get better at it. And then I'm like, huh. So it basically also started my journey to go back to school. And that's basically how I got started doing content, is just basically trying to find a niche between me and my son.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. I love that story, man. Um, I'm glad you and your son connect on doing content together now. I love that. And My second question is still comes into your content. Why did you start doing the content? What did you wanted to do it for fun or professionally? Like you said, you went back to
Well,
school.
yeah, so like with the content specifically, it was a little mixed in a number of things. So on that vlog, that next day when we went to the vlog, that flea market, I started to collect like trading cards, and I think I got the very first figure that I bought, which was an old Marvel superhero. Uh, it was the Punisher, and it had basically was one of the old '80s figures that they had of through Toy Biz. Toy Biz had the license to make a lot of the old Marvel superhero figures that I actually had when I was a kid. I had the Punisher, and I saw it, and it just brought me back to when I was a kid. So, oh my god, I had this Punisher, and the guy was just he got it for me for like $2, and it
Wow.
was loose. It wasn't in the package or anything like that. Um, so I bought it, and I was like, huh, like yeah, this started to get me to get back into figure collecting, because I remember when I had left the Bronx, when I moved from the Bronx to California when I was 14, I had to get rid of all my toys. So that was like I hadn't had any toys or anything like that for years since I was a kid. Um, and then around that time, also, I started listening to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast with Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, and Brian Myers. And they basically, obviously, they collect wrestling figures, and I'm a big wrestling fan. So I started listening to their podcast, and they were talking about figure collecting. And they got me juiced. Like that, I was like, man, like people actually like grown men actually collect toys, and so that also was one of the reasons why I started to really get into like improving my content and being able to collect what I liked. Um, and then of course, obviously, my wife was instrumental in me going to school, and it was just because when I every time I recorded something, I started to learn and kind of teach myself how to do it. I was watching YouTube videos of how to do certain things and cut and splicing and transitions. And that's basically like now, it's so funny. Like I looked at some of our videos that from the beginning. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? Like I could do that way better now. But if I knew then what I don't now, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons why it was a number of things during that time frame, and it was during the pandemic where you could actually do a lot of content because everybody was home.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Um, my third question for you: what were some challenges? What are some challenges you have to overcome on making content? What's your
Well, the biggest thing is to be able to kind of stay ahead of the game as far as like what are people collecting now, because I don't make a lot of money, so I'm not able to pre-order all these kinds of figures that are coming out. I really wish I could.
yeah?
um and so that's one of the biggest thing, being able to stay uh basically like in the game of figures that are out now. Sometimes I do get what's out there, sometimes I don't. um Sometimes I go and look for the retro stuff that maybe people don't know about, and maybe will get a lot of the older generation like myself will like, oh, I remember that figure. So that's one of the biggest things. Also too, like really getting your stuff out there, because I'm sure you're finding out yourself that really getting your name out there in a niche
Hmm.
where there's a lot of channels that do what you do.
Hmm.
How are you going to separate yourself from everybody else? Because everybody can go to YouTube and find out action figure collecting. You're going to find a million different channels that do the same thing that you do.
Oh yeah.
But what makes yours different than the rest? How do you get them to say, "Oh, I like this guy"? And that's
Hmm.
one of the biggest challenges that I face all the time.
Wow, I totally agree with you, man. Um, question four. This is an easy question. It's a wrestling question. What's your favorite wrestling move and why?
Uh, the super kick, because Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. So super kick, although now everybody uses a super kick now, so that's kind of like it's not unique anymore. Um, But if I had to really think about it, I would probably do the sharpshooter because I used to put my sister in the sharpshooter a lot when we were kids, and she hated that.
Yeah. Um, question 5. What's your favorite wrestling match moment from wrestling?
So it's tied, and they have the same wrestler in both matches. So WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart at in Anaheim main
The Iron
event.
Man
That
match.
was I watched that live when it came out, when it was being broadcasted on pay-per-view. So that was it. And then WrestleMania 21, Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle. I watched it live too, and those matches, man, I can watch them all the time.
Right. Yeah. The Iron Man match, I watched it, and that's what got me into old school wrestling right there. Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, um, Kurt Angle, The Rock, and all of them. That's what got me into old school wrestling, the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I love The Rock too, but Shawn Michaels, if I had to pick out of all of them, Shawn Michaels will always, hands down, would be my favorite.
Shawn Michaels. Um, question 6. What's your favorite wrestling gimmick from wrestling? A gimmick.
A gimmick would probably be Gold Dust. Because so funny, we're talking about WrestleMania 12. That backlot brawl. I mean, if you watch that match, that whole match, Goldust gets his butt whooped. Like, seriously, I don't want to cuss, but like, if you look, Roddy Piper literally punches him in his face, and like he literally launches back, whap, and you can hear the swap, like, on his face. But the Goldust character, I thought, was during that time was like, whoa, like that's a little bit too much there, bro. And then it evolved, obviously, during the Attitude Era, where he got kind of like a little bit too gimmicky, was trying to be like a comedy actor. Of course, right when, I guess you could call it the Ruthless Aggression Era, when he was tag teaming with Booker T.
Yeah.
That's when he started to get funny. The whole Tourette's one, that whole gimmick when he was doing the Tourette's, that I laugh all the time with that.
Question 7. What's your favorite wrestling promotion and why? Is it TNA? Is it AEW? Is it WWE?
I mean, it's always going to be the WWE, just because I've been watching it for so long. I'll tell you, I'm going to age myself. The very first match I ever watched was the WWF Superstars on a Saturday morning, and it was the first match. I was a tag team match with a bunch of jobbers against the Rockers. Of course, obviously, that's when I got introduced to Shawn Michaels. And when they broke up, I was like, seriously, like that storyline got me in the feels. I'm like, no, don't break up. I want you to stay together forever. But yeah, I think it was with WWE, WWF, because I've been watching it for so long. Although the beginning of TNA around 2003, 2004 really got me watching, and that's when I got introduced to AJ Styles. Because he was doing some stuff that I had it was one of those things where, like, he was doing stuff I used to do with my GI Joes when I had my little fig fed back in the day, and I would do moves, and he would do moves that I would do when I, with my toys, and I was like, a human body can do that, like when he would do the flip off of the rope, he would do a moonsault backwards, and then he would grab you and then do a reverse DDT. And I used to do that move with my GI Joes. I was like, oh my God, that's like what I used to do with my toys.
That's awesome.
So the DNA during that time was really special.
Oh yeah. Question 8. What is the easiest thing to do on making content, man? For you?
Well, nowadays the easiest thing you can do is shorts, because there's so many programs out there like Opus Clip. I use Opus Clip a lot. I mean, obviously you can use the free version, but they only give you so many credits to use during a certain amount of time. Unless you actually, get the subscription, then you get unlimited. But you plug in like your YouTube link of your video of your long form content, and they cut it up, and get you the best type of shorts that you can, and post it, on TikTok and Instagram, and everything like that. So shorts are usually the easiest thing. But the thing is, though, you got to be really creative as to the type of shorts you do, because even though it may be a short of your content, it may not be something that people are just going to swipe. You want to make sure that they stay watching.
Oh yeah, exactly. Question 9: would you work for a wrestling promotion, and which one would you choose?
Yeah, I mean, I would work for any promotion that would willingly to give me a chance. You know what I mean? Like, and the you're one of your guests that you had on your last interview that you actually got me to be able to give me the hookup, because I actually needed to do an assignment for school, and I actually reached out to him. But he was working for WWE for 5 years, man. That's a dream job right there, man. But any wrestling promotion that would give me a chance, although I would love to work for the WWE, that'd be the big leagues. But any promotion that would let me get my foot in the door.
Oh yeah. Question 10, the last question, and then we'll play a little game I made.
Okay.
Who's your favorite wrestler of all time? All time favorite wrestler?
Would it be Shawn Michaels? I mean, the Rock and Shawn Michaels, depending on what day I'm having, I was like, oh, The Rock. I like The Rock a little bit more, but it's probably going to be Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, okay.
Now, what version of Shawn Michaels? That's a different story, because I wasn't a real fan of 98 Shawn Michaels right around before he hurt his back, because he was really, I've seen all the documentaries where he was a real big, jerk behind the, because he was suffering from his injury, and of course he was, addicted to substance, abuse and everything like that. So, but I think if I had to choose what era Shawn Michaels, it would be right around from like when he turned heel up until like 93 all the way up to like 96.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's play this little game I made.
Okay.
Blind rank these WWE champions without knowing who's next. This is top 6. We start off with CM Punk.
All right. So how would the game go?
You just like 1 through 6. You put him at like
Oh,
he's like
okay.
a
So
2 or
CM
3
Punk, I
on
put
his
him at
WWE
6.
6. Okay. Hulk Hogan.
Now this is tough. I should have put him at 6, but I put him at 5.
Okay. AJ Styles.
3.
Randy Orton.
4.
Roman Reigns.
1.
And then our last one is John Cena.
Then you'd be number 2.
Yep. That was fun.
Yeah, I like that. I should have thought of that a little bit more. I was like, I probably would have put Hogan lower if I knew when he was coming up. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Man, thank you for coming out, man. Getting the opportunity to sit down with you, talk about your content, talk about wrestling, put a little game with you, and we'll do another one of these in the near future. I'm
Yeah,
looking
man.
forward to
Anytime
that.
you want to have me as a guest, I'm very, very honored that you actually wanted me to do one of your interviews on your channel. I love the content that you do. So, keep up the good work. I've been where you are, and I know the hardships that it is. So just keep doing what you're doing. And, at some point, someone, is gonna latch onto you, and you're gonna get fans, every once in a while. I've been doing the YouTube for 6 years now, and I'm just over 1.18 K subscribers. So it takes a while. So
It takes a long time to do it. But thank you coming out, and we gotta play some little music before we go.
yeah, thank you so very much, guys, and watch Wyatt Wrestling, guys. All right, he's got some good stuff. Don't let the shorts fool you. He's got some good content, and thank you so very much for having me.
You're welcome, man. All right. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for coming. And we'll see you guys in the next one.